Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Goat TAFE Goulburn Valley Football Show. And what a huge weekend it's going to be this weekend, where we pay tribute to the Anzac boys and women who serve this country so valiantly. With me tonight for tonight's program, filling in for Guy Morfitt. I couldn't think of his name, then he's backdoored him that quickly. Mario D. Santa Ana, how are you, mate?
I'm great, Foxy, and cheerio to Guy who's probably listening to us over there in China.
Yeah, he would be. Get us live there this evening. And John...
Would he be listening or watching?
I'd be on subtitles anyway,
well,
wouldn't it?
I've got a fair idea what he'll be doing. If it's bedtime over there, I can tell you. John J.R. Ryan, how are you, mate?
Foxy, how are you, mate? And, it's good to be here, and as you said before, it's a wonderful weekend. Our Anzacs, which make sure everybody goes out and buys the Anzac badge, because it goes to a wonderful cause. And it's a great celebration for our men and women of Australia. They've got a dawn service at Tatura for the first time, and I'll definitely be there, Foxy.
Good on you, mate. Look, what a huge weekend it's been already in the Goat TAFE Goulburn Valley Football League. Plenty of things happening. A huge upset on the weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, John, I want to cross the topic with you, and it's prior to us getting into the Cheerios, of course, and that is Riding for the Disabled has been operating in Shepparton since 1978, John.
Yep.
It's a non-profit organisation run entirely by volunteers to organise that people with disabilities to experience an enjoyment and a sense of achievement and attain personal goals through horse riding. Now, the riders improve their own balance, their core strength, their posture and coordination, and enjoy developing relationships with the horse. Shepparton RDA caters for over 60 children and adults. If you'd like to assist in any way, as a volunteer, the date is Tuesday, is that right, John?
Yeah, when they do it is on Tuesdays, from 9 to about 2:30. Foxy?
Yeah, if you'd have hay that you'd like to donate, they're a volunteer organisation. So I know it's been a tough year for the people out on the land there. We haven't had a great deal of rain or any joy whatsoever. But think of the work these people are doing behind the scenes. It's a fantastic cause. So if you've got a little bit of hay you could spare, they'd really, really appreciate it. Or the other alternative is, you might have a suitable horse or pony you'd like to donate or sell. If you're going to sell it for as cheap as you can. Would you do us a favour? But donations would be really wonderfully accepted, because, as I said, these people give up their time for people that aren't as lucky as you and I. If you want any more information on it, you can contact Ray Donnan. Good on you, Ray. You're a great Australian on Anzac Day, and what a wonderful cause this is. And Ray's number is 0409 573 423. I'll give you Ray's number one more time. It's 0409 573 423.
Just to add to that, too, Foxy, with the horses, they've got about 12 horses, and that's, as you said, if they've got any other horses that people want to give up, like race horses and all that sort of stuff, be marvellous. But they've only got 10 acres of land, Mario. So obviously, the 12 horses, you're short of feed. And I think, the cockies out here are terrific people. Just one big roll will go a long way. All you have to do is ring Ray. He'll organise the pickup. And the other thing is, I reckon what people could do, Foxy, especially the football people out there, I know a lot of them haven't got farms, I know a lot of them haven't got horses, or they haven't got the time to go there. But I think if they're at the football and people would like to make a monetary donation, if they see Mario or Foxy or myself or Guy at the football, you could come up and give us a donation, which we would pass on. We would take your name and everything, pass it on to Ray and those, and if you wanted to check out to make sure they got the money, because the money will definitely go there. But so if there's anyone out there who would like to give a donation like that, come up to one of us at the footy, we'll write your name down and we'll pass it on, and it'll be, look, they do a magnificent job. There's one of the girls that does do it, she's from Burnside, Ro McQuinney, she goes there, volunteers.
G'day Ro, and I didn't realise you gave up a time for that.
Gives up a time every Tuesday, goes across and do it. And these are the sort of people, look, they're magnificent people to do what they do, and we just ask you people out there to give them a bit of a chop out, because they need a bit of a chop out.
They've been going for a while, JR.
1978.
And you don't hear a lot about them, because they sort of just manage themselves and with a little bit of assistance from the community. So they're really asking for some help now. So I think we should all get in there and
I think to do that for those kids, like obviously it's hard work, but I think from what I can gather, the look, and I'm actually going to go out there one day and have a look at it. To see the look on those kids' faces, because I think 80% of them are about 16 years of age, to see those kids and the look on their face, I think it'd be magnificent.
Yeah, it's a great service.
Yep.
Alrighty, now let's have a look at last week's scores that took place. And Seymour played Mansfield and they got over the line by 32 points. I was at that game and, gee, I tell you what, they didn't have it all their own way, the Lions, but they got over that a big last quarter and consequently ran away. It was the Swans 20-point winners over United. And a great game of football. They hit the front late in the last quarter, United, but just the Swans found that extra little bit. Mario was there. We'll talk to Mario about that in a little while. Echuca came from nowhere. 41 points down they were at one stage and got up and won the game by 6 points. That would have been an absolute beauty, but the coup de grace took place at Memorial Oval on Saturday night when Euroa. Well, Benalla have been bandied around as being the certainties for the flag this year. Reality's a real thing in football, boys. I think we'd agree there. Euroa got up, and I was at that game, and quite a few others got up by 10 points, and we shall certainly cross the path of that particular game. It sees our ladder like this. Rochester on top on 8 points, Euroa on 8, Kyabra on 8, Benalla on 8, Marupna on 8, and the Swannies on 8 make up the 6. Then you've got Seymour, United, Echuca, all on 4. Tatura are on no points with Shepparton and Mansfield in the same situation. Our goal-kicking ladder sees it like this. Big Harry Madden, we've got a special on you tonight, Harry. He's on 17. Josh Millington is on 13. Kirby's on 12. Elliot Bowen's on 10. Tom Bongetti is on 9. And Timmy Luby, the captain coach, who we happen to be featuring tonight, is also on 9 goals. Before we get into the footy, John, some Cheerios. I saw a lot of people out at the footy on the weekend, and I've got to say good day to a special lady friend of mine. And in my drinking days, she ran the best hotel in Avenel, Terry White. G'day, Tezza.
And because you were barred.
I wasn't barred, but I was a bleeding heart. And Terry had put up with me. She's a wonderful girl. She hasn't been too well lately, but it was great for me to sit under the, just like the old days, Tez, when Marty wasn't around. We were sitting under covers up there at Euroa, and we watched the footy together. She's a lovely girl, and it was great to see her, and you look wonderful. I've got to say good day to two young fellas that watch us all the time too. Cody James Hogan. His old man's nickname is Ugly. So with Cody James, they call him Real Ugly.
Real? Oh, okay.
So his old man's ugly, and
So
they call Cody James.
you visit him and you fit in pretty well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Casey Duncan, who took the incredible stats of 1 kick and 2 handballs on the weekend. Good on you, Casey.
Your dunks.
Oh, no. I know. He's look, I tell you what, he
Very
did play.
handy footballer, Case.
War number 22 played very, very well on the weekend, but Casey Duncan was very, very good. And the other thing, Martin, I've got to add Martin.
He's Mario.
I've got to talk to you about Martin White. Right now, Johnny, you've seen this.
I've seen Martin.
It's called Whitey's Ferret Racing. Now, I don't know. It's Whitey's Ferret Racing. Well, Johnny, yes, have you seen it? They had it at Chichura Football Club.
They've had it at the Chichura Footy Club. And can I ask you something, Mario? When was the last time you let your ferret out for a run?
I was going to...
Hey, come on.
The old ferret, I think I'll let
Yeah, come on.
I let it out and it hasn't come back. It's still chasing the rabbit.
Well, I've got to tell you that this is Martin's card. Here it is. Have a look at the card. Whitey's Ferret Racing.
got a business card in
It is right there. Now, he'll come to your club, provided he's been to TAP.
He's been to TAP, yes.
It's a good night.
It is a very good night. Yes,
Now, if you want to talk to Martin White, believe me, he is the wild man of Witchyproof. Born and raised in Witchyproof was Martin, and he's got 1 million daughters, and they're all lookers, and it's amazing if you saw his head. But you can contact Martin on 0417 101 802, or alternatively, if you want to have a terrific night with your family and friends at a footy club or a club environment, his email address is all in lowercase martin.white@vline.com. He's a terrific fella.
Does he train them, does he?
Well, I've never
they
seen
race.
it. There's a photo on the back.
Yeah.
There's no saddle on it.
No, I know. There's a jockey on it.
Yeah.
That's got to be the biggest ferret in Australia. So if you think you've got a ferret that you can run up against Martin's, well, give him a call. And
I suppose if you don't want to race them, you can always use them to clean your pipes out, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, well, I can tell he has a little bit of trouble getting his ferrets to the particular turnout. One in each pocket and one how you going.
Yeah.
Anyway, but if you want to contact Martin for a great night out, give Martin White a ring on the number I just gave you. Now, Anzac Day this weekend, varying starting times, and the starting times are at Seymour and playing Euroa. The first and seconds What have you got here, John?
Yeah, first, the Seymour, the thirds and seconds are playing at 1 o'clock on 2 different grounds.
Correct.
Yep.
And the seniors kick off at 2:45. Benalla take on the Swans. The second start at 2 o'clock. The seniors start at 4 o'clock. I'll be up there at Benalla. Looking forward to seeing that one. That should be an absolute
Yes,
ripper.
I'll be at Seymour.
And the thirds will start at 6:30 after the senior game. Shepparton United. The game there is who does Shep United play this week?
Shepparton.
Shep.
You cannot read.
So, well, you've got Shepparton United.
Yeah.
Dave's a silly boy. He's got Shep United written there. Why didn't he put Shepparton and Shep United?
There's one on top of the other.
Okay. The thirds kick off at 2:15. The second start at 4:15, and the seniors kick off at 6:30. And the radio broadcast this game this week on 1FM 98.5. It's Kyabram versus Rochester. It's a night game. The third start at 2:30, the reserves start at 4:30, and the seniors start at 6:30. And I think the boys go to air at 5:30 at 1FM.
Just on that, boys, just a question with the night games. I believe either between Kyabram or Shepparton, I think they should have had a 2 o'clock starting senior game, then move the seconds into that area, and then the third, say, play later. Or either that or bring a Sunday game in. I just think the senior games, I know Benalla at 4 o'clock and I know Seymour's at 3 o'clock, but I think centrally there should have been a 2 o'clock senior game in the Golden Valley.
Yeah, there isn't one, isn't there?
No, there's none.
No.
And, they could have moved the seconds and the thirds and changed that, because a lot of times the thirds can play under lights, which have happened before, or make one of them a Sunday game, because I just don't think, the way the weather is, it's going to be cold. We don't know if it's going to be cold up, but a lot of the older people, I don't think will go and watch senior football late at night.
Yeah, I just look, there's plenty in what you say.
Yeah.
But I just think everyone's trying to find the happy medium, John, and I reckon I agree with you with our age supporters. It makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
There's no. I'll tell you what. I've
Just mix it up.
I've got to tell you the truth. I'm only a very young man myself, Mario, but the cold night air does knock me up a bit.
Well, I tell you what, the All of You Lamb's not working then.
But you couldn't go to a better place to watch night footy than Kyabram.
Oh, no, they do it well, but I just would have liked to have seen that 2 o'clock afternoon.
Yeah, I think one night game would have been great in the central area.
And then throw one Sunday.
Yeah, you'd have a bigger turnout, I think, because
definitely.
other clubs would then come and watch us. Your Seniors play that evening. So
yeah, definitely.
It's a tough call. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, I think, aren't you, with the schedule these times?
We certainly are. This week, had the opportunity to get out amongst them this week, and I was lucky enough to go down to the Shepparton United football ground, and I caught up with their coach, Tim Luby. Tuesday night at the home of country football in Victoria, Deakin Reserve, and I'm here tonight with the Shepparton United coach and one of my all-time favourite players in this competition, Tim Luby. How are you, mate?
Good, Fox. How you going, mate?
Not too bad. Tim, year probably hasn't started off how you wanted, really?
Nah, it wasn't what we would have liked, obviously, but we're working on things. We knew we've chucked a few players in and it's going to take a bit, so early wins is the key. It just makes the Seymour game even more important.
You're a very tall side, Tim, and I think probably this has been the warmest year we've started off in GV footy. Was that having a tolling effect on your overall speed on the ground?
No, I think you've got to play to your strengths. Yeah, we did recruit a couple of big blokes, but we do have a lot of running, fleet-of-foot type guys too. So, look, if we keep the ball in the air, and it doesn't matter how tall or small you are, if you hold on to the footy more than the opposition, you're going to win most games, and we're just handing it back to the opposition at the moment, so we're shooting ourselves in the foot. On
Saturday just past, I thought, well, I heard it, and Tim Luby had kicked the goal very early in the start of the last quarter. I thought, here they come. In your own words, what happened from that point on? Did you just stop, or what took place?
No, I think we got met ahead on that last quarter by a really good side. Shep Swanzana's haven't dropped back as much as what people are saying. We did get in front, but then we made three crucial errors. One undisciplined 50-metre, and good sides put you away, and that's what Shep Swans are. And full credit to them, they kicked 3 goals, and we couldn't counteract that, and they deserved the win in the end.
Tim, just diversifying away from footy and letting people find out a little bit more about you. I've had some of my greatest days in football in media at this ground, and 2 of the highlights I'll never forget as long as I live. One was Mark Quarrell was your coach. You're playing, I think it was Marupna. You've scallywagged here on the half-back line, and the Marupna crowd have really given it to you. you went up forward, deep into attack, and there was an altercation between you and a boy called Sherman. And I think you got a little bit of time off the ground. Would that be right?
Yeah, I went for a bit of a spell, yeah.
Yeah, and we were up in the broadcasting box, and my recollection was that Mark Quarrell, he was just sweating on the siren going to get down and have a word or two to you. And John Ryan, that I work with closely, JR, he was keen to get down and have an earwig. But I think Mark kept it fairly cool that day.
Yeah, he kept it pretty cool to the public eye. He took me aside into the toilets and told me what he thought of it. But it's probably best kept between me and him, and probably not for TV that what was said. And what
I'm not. I certainly don't want to know what was said.
But it was definitely deserved. That was very undisciplined by me. So
it certainly had an impact, because I can remember, and you may remember too, and I often look at it when I got, I love to go back through the old finals. You kicked the goal from that far pocket over that side there that was absolutely magnificent. I reckon you broke off the pack and you let it go from about 60. That gave you a little bit of ascendancy. And then in front of your home crowd there, right in front of those rooms, you slotted one on the bad side for left-footed. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I definitely remember the first one, but that probably only made it even for the day after the stuff up I did at half-time. But it was good. At the end of the day, we got the win, and in a grand final, you do whatever it takes to win, mate. And as long as I live, I'll never regret that moment. So.
Some of the influences you've had on your football, I know you're very close to your family. I see your mum and dad regularly at the footy. I know Michael was a great player under you here. Always thought Michael was underestimated on his football ability. Who are the blokes that have meant the most to you in footy?
I probably started out at Kingutna with Gary Harvey. He gave me my first real crack at senior footy at 14, 15 to give me the responsibility he did. I know we were undermanned back then, but he taught me how to play senior footy, so I'll never forget what Nip has done for me. Going through the Bush Rangers, Xavier Tanner, he's probably showed me and taught me how good I could be. Then coming back to this level, definitely Mark Quarrell's the best coach and biggest influence on my footy career. He's just an out-and-out champion of a coach, and I still to this day speak to him once a week about life and about footy, and he's probably still my biggest mentor.
Your commitment to interleague football, Tim, I would say of all the footballers I know in the competition, there's been some. Paul Newman's one that comes to mind. Did you learn from Paul, like Paul would always commit to the interleague side? Are you along the same line as that?
Yeah, absolutely. He sort of led the way. I think any player should. It's an absolute honour to represent your league. It's another step above the standard we get here, which is no real poor standard at the moment. But interleague footy's great. I huge advocate for it. Obviously, it's a massive honour to captain it last year. And as long as I'm good enough, and fit enough, I'll still stick my hand up to play, and until I'm not good enough.
Tell me one thing. I know that Sean Hawes returned to a fair. Well, what we expect from Sean, I rate him very highly as a footballer in this competition. How big an impact has the big fella Neves had on his performances?
Yeah, really good. Probably not the synergy they're getting at the moment. Sean, he's been off in the forward line. We're going to wait until he gets a little bit more fitness, and we're going to unleash him on there. Reece Healy, another on baller, Matt DeBella, probably taking full use of the big fella at the moment. But I was speaking to Trav during the week, the interleague coach, and I said this guy's probably the best ruckman I've seen in this league while I've been here, and we're probably not taking full advantage of him at the moment, and it's going to be scary once we start to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember a couple of years ago you started off a little bit slowly here, and then all of a sudden you just learnt more and more about each other. You certainly had a great target when the Eagle was up forward. Are you down one key forward, do you think?
Look, we're just trying to get probably get the right mixture at the moment. We're trying a few things. We probably should have played another practice game or two but we had a bit of unavailability with cricket, which was poor. The cricket and the football schedule this year was just too close, and we couldn't get enough games into one another. We're trying, Daniel Campbell from the Swans has showed a bit so far. Jesse McEnany, if he gets his kicking foot on, and Paul Curry's a good lead up forward. So we do have myself to swing down there, but we're going to try and settle me down back. But that's only going to depend on how we're going up forward. But you do have to kick enough goals to win, but we need to start defending a lot more, and takes the pressure off the forward line.
Now, Brendan Vanderdonk, you secured Brendan's services. He's doing a great job for you. I know why you got him here. It's because of his rough head. Just have a look at this for a rough melon. I'm telling you right now, you want to be better looking than your assistant, don't you?
Oh, look, I definitely think I've got him covered, but I'm no Brad Pitt either. But it's great. Donker's come on board. We got him as an assistant, and it's fallen that way that Jeff Hall's commitments, work, and family's got too great. He couldn't commit, and Donker's come up to help me out, and he's been good. His football brain's the one thing that's really surprised me. We all knew he was a top bloke. He's an absolute legend of a bloke, but that sometimes doesn't cut it as a coach, and he's been really, really cluey, and we're still feeling each other out, but we're getting there.
Yeah, he's certainly got footy smarts.
Yeah, he loves it too, so that's half of it.
So have you, mate. And I really do appreciate it. It's Tuesday night. Now, what we normally do, Tim, Steel Line, our mates at Steel Line look after us. Here's a bag full of goodies. It's probably worth about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of goods in there.
Thanks, Trav. Yeah.
So we wish you all the success for the rest of the year. Before the year's out, when we get up to finals, I reckon we'll be back talking to you again. I've got no doubt United will get themselves going shortly and be in the I'll guarantee you'll play finals football anyway, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Good on you, bud. Well, there you go. That was a wonderful Tim Luby, and what a great player he is. And we highlighted a few things there. We've got a few little things you can have a look at just to remember what a grand player he certainly is, and will be for quite a few more years. He's a younger man than what I thought, Timmy. I think he only runs in about 28 years of age, John. Would that be right?
Yeah. No, very, very good player, Timmy Luby.
Mario, you've seen him at his best. Have you seen anyone better? Or you've probably seen the equal of him, but he's a great player.
Look, I think he's the ultimate player in a side, isn't he? He can play back, forward, midfield, and goes forward, kicks his 6 goals.
And a great user of the ball. Great user of the ball.
But you always, notice with Mario when he's talking about the Lubies, he always whispers in your ear off air, have you seen how ugly his old man is?
I wouldn't say that.
So, Anthony, you just said, it's a bad head.
A lot of respect for the Luby family.
Good on you. Okay.
And just while we're on that, David, I'll just give you a little update. I've started the top 50. I've got 115 names, Mario, at this stage. So as I said, it's all taken on form. I've got 115 names down so far. And of course, by the next couple of weeks, we've got to cut that back to 50. But anyway, no help from you blokes, but I'll get there.
The old dartboard will be getting to work out at your place there.
Well, better than that ferret's getting a run at your place.
Well, you can...
That's it.
There you go.
And it's got to swim in the pool.
It's got to get in the pool there.
That's exactly right.
Jacuzzi.
Now listen, couple of games I do want to talk about last week, John. Now, I know you can say, I don't have that much to do with it, but Tatura.
Yeah, look, they would have been 41 points up, I think, 3/4 of the way through the third quarter, and to get beaten, I think that'd be very, very disappointing. Now, we could tip them both one way or the other. They can either knuckle down now and say, look, this is not good enough, or they could just, they could half throw the sponge, which I hope they don't do that. I know they're battling for players and all that sort of stuff, but 41 points up, Mario, nearly to 3/4 time. You can't see him losing a game from them, but by the sound of it, Simon Buckley pushed forward. He's having a great year, Simon Buckley. Kicked 4 or so in the last.
I think it was a crucial loss for them.
Exactly.
Given that they're tougher games that have come.
Yep.
That was a game that they probably penciled in as a win game for them. I don't know how it's going to affect them. At the end of the day, they've got a couple of injuries to key players. And not a lot of depth through getting into their thirds. So really, you've got to make the most of it when you get the opportunity.
Let's not forget one thing here. Whilst it's sad for Tatura, it's fantastic for
cuts both ways. Cuts both ways.
I really...
Look, I think if they had been beaten, they would have been devastated at Duke. I think their president might have thought at 3/4 time, geez, where are we going here? But that in a quarter of footy has turned him around, and it's given them a lot of enthusiasm to go on now.
I believe games are won; they're not necessarily lost.
Yeah,
and I think Echuca. We
full
do
credit
need to give credit to Echuca. They obviously lifted. To the point where they're able to get on top. And,
it would have been pretty easy to throw it in at that stage.
They could have just said, "We're not going to win this. Let's just walk away."
Yeah, and you got blokes like Matty Pollock and those blokes. You just know they're going to give you everything at every stage. But Simon Buckley, he was pretty handy last year, but he's having a really, really good year this year.
I think young Jamison Daniels. I think he's got a terrific focus and a terrific outlook.
Oh, he's doing a good job.
There's no doubt he is, and he would have played on Saturday, and he wouldn't have been pain free. You can tell he was right, but he wouldn't have been pain free. He had a bit of a dip.
Yeah, look, I give him credit for playing with a crook knee, and you would think if you're involved in the club, so look, I don't want you to play because we've got another 16 or 17 games to go. But to his credit, he got up there and played. You could see he was a bit wounded by the sound of it, ways people. So, full credit to him. He just didn't sit back and say, look, I'll have a couple of weeks.
So, JR, does he have to make a decision about you know, either resting it. Like I know they don't have a game this week, but you know, resting it for 2 or 3 weeks and being right for the rest of the year, or taking the risk and carrying it through the year, knowing they don't have the stock.
Yeah, I think if you start making decisions like that and you start risking things, then you're bringing yourself undone, because you can't play to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as what everyone said it was at the start, or he sort of said that himself. So, and I think he knows his own body, but you know, you don't want to be going out there and not playing to your full potential, Foxy, because then the knives come and all that sort of stuff. So, and he's a very good player.
Oh, he's a sensational player, and he's an important part of the plan over the next couple of years.
But he's got to get himself right, because they need him 100% fit.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, well, I went to Seymour Saturday and saw Mansfield, and I thought Mansfield handled themselves really well. But at 3/4 time, they just ran out of petrol tickets. But on Saturday night, I went to Memorial Oval, and I have to tell you, it was one of the all-time classic things you see in footy. And I'd like your thoughts on it, John, because I know you've got reserved opinions. I went and saw Benalla, arguably one of the better sides we've seen in the competition for a year or two. And John, and they went down. And there are a couple of things, I'll let you talk first. There are a couple of things I witnessed, and I'll get your thoughts first before I have anything to say. Well, and then I'll ask you, Mario.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, look, well, let's not take it away from your role.
Correct.
It's a magnificent
Absolutely.
win. Absolutely magnificent win. Nathan Gillian, by all reports, was absolutely outstanding. But we're talking about a side that's hot favourites. Now, I went and watched Benalla against Seymour, and I walked away from there thinking, I have a bit of a concern of the way the Benalla are playing. They're all downhill skiers. And I think if you get to that stage where you become downhill skiers and you can only run one way, I think you're always going to have problems. What I haven't seen with Benalla, and I think I did a bit last year, but what I've seen this year is when a bloke goes and attacks the ball, Mario, he doesn't seem to be getting any protection from his teammate. So the bloke there they're not working for one another. So if you're going for the ball and I'm your teammate, I don't go and shepherd. I'm going out so you can pump the easy one out for me. You know, they've got to start protecting their teammates. I think they've got to change the structure of their side a little bit. I still think Warnock has to go to full forward. I reckon he's lost across the half forward line. We know Martinello, and we know they're class players. But unless they start playing for one another and become two-way players instead of one-way players, they're going to be in trouble this week against the Swans if they've played like they did against Seymour and like they did against Europe.
Yeah, I haven't seen Benalla play this year, but it's concerning to hear that about Benalla, because I think last year they weren't like that. Last year they were quite a complete unit.
Yep.
They did play for each other, and they linked up together really well and protected each other really well, especially around the contest and the stoppage.
Yep.
So if for some reason that game day philosophy has changed for them, then they really do need to have a pretty good look at it very quickly.
I think probably also now Luke might have to point the finger at a few. You know, it becomes a habit after a while sometimes when you just keep winning. You know, people just keep running forward to the ball because they're so used to just winning the ball and, you know, doing it easy.
And they've got a bit of depth.
Oh, they've got plenty of depth.
In their twos, haven't they?
Yeah.
Mario, I reckon you're more qualified to answer this question than John and I are. Do you think last year when, and I'd not take this, Shepparton Swans were fantastic. Do you think Benalla went into it a little bit blasé?
Into the grand final?
Yep.
Look, I don't think so. You know, I think at this level now you prepare and you focus on the task on a weekly basis. I know it's a cliche, one game at a time, but I really believe that the professionalism in the league at the moment just doesn't allow for that sort of complacency to come in. I think what did happen that day was they just didn't adapt to the conditions. They just didn't adapt, and maybe they got so involved in the game itself they weren't able to see potential moves in players on the day. I still think to this day moving Smith should have been what they'd done at one stage.
Well, as they did against Seymour.
Exactly, down forward even for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They stuck with their playing group and their positions they played in as they have all year, and it's worked for them all year. As a coach, you probably would do that.
Probably last week also, like Seymour, Euro kicked 7 goals 6, I think 4 goals 3 in the second half. So you think, you know, they've dropped off a little bit there, you know, and I think they're in a situation now. Yeah, look, sure, they're a great side. There's no doubt about that. But they just take things for granted now, and it's just not going to happen. No, and they can't win a premiership on the way they're playing at the moment.
And no coach likes to lose games.
No, exactly.
But from an outsider point of view, not being involved in it, I actually think it'll make them stronger. I actually think that, losing 3 or 4 games during the course of a season will make them hungrier for that final game.
Do you think?
I disagree with that in that terminology. It's a game we had to lose to get ourselves.
No, I'm not saying they had to lose.
I don't believe that. No, I don't. No. Do you think it's time Luke started pointing the finger at a few?
Oh, I definitely would. But
you can be a nice guy, and he's a nice fella, but sometimes...
Don't worry. Look,
the time's come, mate.
It's certainly not panic stations for me.
No.
But I'll tell you what I saw, on just as quickly as I can. Gilliland's last quarter.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you right now.
Sensational, I heard.
Unbelievable. I mean, he carried his troops over the line, but he didn't do it one out because, I'll tell you for why. He led by example to the point where others who he inspired started to do the unbelievable things.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about a boy called Johnny Akupu Jr., right?
Yep.
Now, I'm telling you, this fellow is about 6'1", 6'2", and he's as wide as he is tall. And I'm talking that way, not that way. Mm. He is a goer. Look, Josh Marchbank dominated the ruck, hit outs, palm on either side, time and time again. But when Akupu gave the best contest you've ever seen, I've ran a straight line, the ball hit the deck. Here he is, the big fella. Yeah. He's got his nickname there, and really late in the game, he takes a mark without a player near him at centre-half forward and kicked a 60-metre goal, and it was all over, she said. The other thing that happened, Brad Cunningham was sensational for them. His hardness and his cheeky, and I'll tell you, I love Brad, but you'd just, you'd want
to smack him.
You would. You'd have to say, get out of me way. But he would come back at you like a pit bull.
Oh, yeah.
Big Gleeson. Now, Brad Gleeson took a mark. He would have had 4 blokes hanging off him, and he took the mark. And then, now Brad's a boy who played nearly seconds all last year. Then Ash Hobbs, John, we saw him on debut at Seymour a few years ago. He wasn't paid any respect. He only kicked 2 goals, but they only won by 10 points.
Yeah, correct.
And let me tell you, Adam Tarrant, an absolute gun. Not a good player. He is a gun. The boy, forget about who his old man is. I'm telling you now, Taylor can play, Clark can play.
Is he Brian Taylor's son?
Yes, he is. But I'm telling you, you just worry about this kid. He presents really, really well. The other fellow, Sawsey, I think that's his surname.
Yeah. Well, you were saying about Gilliland.
Yeah.
If he was that dominant, Benalla didn't sit anyone on him?
I don't think so. Well, it wouldn't. You could have put 2 on him. Such was the impact. Oh, look.
I don't know if they have a genuine tag or run with player. But
they have. The 2 Paul Pratts that can do it. On occasions,
you're sacrificing them from other areas.
But the basics, it came down to basics. Now, Lockie Smith went to centre back. If I've had one criticism of Lockie Smith, it's the fact that he doesn't punch enough when he's on the back line because he continually goes for the mark. And that's okay. He plays centre back like he's a gun centre forward. He is a good centre forward. But the thing is, Lockie was doing everything right because he was fifth in the ball, and his teammates weren't onto it. And at the fall of the ball, it was all your own. The other boy that tried his hard at, and I know he's come under criticism, he couldn't make their better side, but James Dalton, whatever his coach asked him to do, he did. He punched when he was caught out from behind, and he used the ball properly. He meant his disposal along with Adam Tarrant's disposal. If Adam's been taught how to do one thing properly, he's been taught how to kick and pick out a targeting pressure. The other thing that really concerned me was that there was one time there, and John, we saw him the other week, was James Martin. James Martin got a little bit of a slap and tickle on one occasion there, and not one Benalla hand went up to assist.
That's right.
And that always tells a story to me. And I didn't like what I saw. And I'm not knocking Benalla because I'm hoping they had a bad night. I'm still tipping. I'm not disappointed I tipped them for flags.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I walked out of the ground. I was really hurt with their performance.
They're just not playing as a unit. They're not playing for one another.
Yeah, but anyway,
I think it's early days. So
they'll live to fight another day, and they will. But that's what I thought from last week, and I'm fair to him. As I said, Tarrant. He's a very, very good footballer, and Akupu. They're the 2 winners for me out of that game. They were fantastic. We've got a few games to cover this weekend, and Mario, I'm going to have a bit of a chinwag with you about the Benalla and the Swans now.
Yep.
It's at Benalla.
Yeah.
And you've got the Swannies. You know what I've done, and I don't mind admitting it, I made the biggest blow of all my life on the weekend because I tipped Benalla And I thought, we're not as good as they are. So I've copped my right whack there, and I'll wear that. I mean, I have to. I shut my mouth up. Mickey Peel give me one gun in the gate. Thanks, Mick. Anyway,
I think you gave me one in the 80s too.
Yeah, give everyone
He's
one.
a good bloke, Mickey Peel, standing there in freezing conditions selling tickets to get in. He'll do me.
Yeah.
But no, they come up against the Swans. I reckon I'm dirty on myself because I've underestimated the Swans. You better let a bit out of the bag tonight because Bestie's got those boys travelling beautifully.
Look, they are. They're travelling well. You know, I think people were talking about the players we lost. And, the philosophy at the Swans is let's not worry about who's gone. We're part of that premiership and we will always remember them, but it's about who's here now in the group. And, they picked up a couple of players, around the place. Tommy from Lancaster, big boy, really came into his own on the weekend, I felt. And Keezy, who's starting to get the pace of GVL football. It takes a little bit to adapt as we know. They're a close unit, Swans. And I think you were saying before about, Benalla, maybe there's some signs there, but, the Swans are a close unit. They do everything to get a JO. And from the good days at Tatura, it goes a long way, that extra bit of closeness from the players. And they're playing good football. They're training well at the moment. They're injury-free. They're healthy. It's a healthy squad. So right now, they're in a good spot.
Foxy, if you look at this, if we're going through the game, just some of these, just for rough matchups, say March back on Bell, then you say Sam Martin and Brady Charles. Now, Sam Martin, he's flying at the moment. Yeah. Charles is a good hard nut. James Martinello, Quade Johnson, Will Martinello, Tyson Sidebottom, James Martin and BJ Squires. BJ has been good, so has James Martin. I reckon the interesting duel will be Brooke Martin. I reckon he'll go to Justin Madden.
Yep.
I don't reckon they'll use Lockie Smith on him. I reckon they'll give Brooke a first. And he's been good, Brooke Martin. Mellington, probably Andrew Reardon, Lockie Smith, Jack Trenfall, and say Nick Warnock and Matty Keys. So, look, some of the matchups in this game will be absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, there's a bit of quality there, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, a lot on both sides.
Both sides. So that makes me think that, should we be looking at those next tier players as to who's going to perform there and whether they can lift for the occasion.
Two players have been good for the Swans, Tinkler and Priest.
Yeah.
Been really good for you.
Now, big Harry up forward, Johnny. He's been sensational.
17 goals, he's skipped 60. Look, he's, we spoke about him a few weeks ago, how he leads, but that's the game he plays, all right? That's the game he plays, that's fine. But, people talking about him this and that. His best and biggest attribute is his skills on the ground.
Yeah. Well,
he can play a half-foot flank.
Do you know about his wardrobe strengths and weaknesses, John?
His wardrobe's got a few weaknesses.
Well, I've got to tell you, I'll keep talking, Mario, and you can back me up here. Wow. Here's a shot of Harry, or Justin, and his lovely wife, Brianna, when they got married. And now, the first thing you're going to the first thing you're going to be saying, how did he snare? That's the first thing you're going to say. Now, the next shot you're about to see is Harry. His daughter is Lila.
Yes.
And Brianna, and it's a family shot. It's an absolute beauty. He's very much the family man. But then there's some more other important people in this photo. Have a look at this one. He's got his daughter Lila in the carry on the back there. You can see her in the cart. But what's the dog's name, Mario?
Izzy.
Izzy. Now, how do you call a dog Izzy? And I'll tell you what, Harry.
Dizzy.
I'll tell you what, Harry. Put a helmet on when you got your daughter on the bike. Got no helmet on. And I'm taking it straight down to the local lockup and give you up for it. But the main concerning thing about Harry is his dress sense. Now, you'll have a look. What's he got on here? You know the photo I'm talking about, Mario? It's a giraffe. Is that your answer to a onesie, Harry?
It's a shocker, isn't it?
You'll never have another kid if you jump in the cot with that on, I can tell you.
But that's probably why he plays so tall down in the forward.
Yeah, my word it is. But he's a fantastic fellow and he is playing great football. I'll go out on a limb here and I'll say he'd be considered for the interleague side at this stage.
I would think there'd be no problems there.
All right, Johnny, who's going to win it? The Swans or Benalla?
Just two players I want to ask.
Go.
Mario, Sam Gemmell and Paul Fry. Paul Fry is having a good year as I reckon he's had.
Paul Fry got through pre-season this year. He started last year a bit underdone because of injuries. This year did all pre-season. His best game was on the weekend. I think he got 3 goals, as a midfield forward. Really hard at it. Great. Gemmell, been a great guy to get to the club. Cobram boy. Rated up there very highly.
What about Tinkler's year so far and Quade Johnson?
Right,
Yeah,
Johnson.
look, those boys are just picking up from where they left
Yeah,
off. I
exactly.
think. You know, they've
Exactly.
taken it to another level. which you have
Antonovic,
to
you
do.
happy with Antonovic?
Oh, look, Antonovic has
Well, he's-
changed his game dramatically. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. And he's been injured.
Yeah,
He's just started.
He hardly did any pre-season at all.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
His rehab program. He worked so hard on his rehab program that he came out ready to go.
Well, I don't want this to get out, but Caden Antonovic is the one who give me all the good oil on Harry Madden.
Caden's a bit like that.
Yeah, he does.
He likes stitching up a few of the boys.
He rang me up and he said, Foxy, do you mind if I put a red rinse through my hair? And Daisy said, since Daisy saw me, John, she hasn't forgotten the redhead.
Yeah. And who would?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, but anyway.
Anyway,
We're gonna-
I'm going for Benalla only because it's under lights and it's at home, but I think the Swans could quite easily get over them.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily think it'll finish under lights, I guess, but I think the Swans are a very improved side, and I think there's going to be less than 2 kicks in it, but I'm going to give the Benalla boys one more chance.
You told me you were going for the Swans.
Oh, I lied, but I'm going for Benalla at home. I was going to go to the Swans, but I've got to go. I'm going up to Benalla on Saturday, and I want to breathe
You
on the
want
way
to
home.
Stay alive.
Alrighty.
I'm going for the Swans.
Thanks, mate.
As you would.
As you would.
Righto, Mario, you have got Shepparton, and they are taking on United.
Yeah, look at a big game there. The co-tenants. It's always a good derby. The United and Shep games. Shepparton, they're 11th. They didn't have a game last week, so it'll be 2 weeks before they get back on the ground. And United, they're sitting in 8th. United, I think Lubes would have been a little bit disappointed with their effort last week, especially in the last quarter where they sort of got within
Striking distance.
distance and then just fell away. He'd be looking at a win this week, a desperate win, because they're 2 in a row now they've lost.
Lost 2 in a row.
So, that could be difficult. Shep, Campbell's got all the boys there working really well. He's really pushing the youth, and I think that's probably going to be their Achilles heel. You can't predict with these young kids how they're going to perform on a week-to-week basis. Their consistency isn't quite there yet at that top level, but it's the right way to go for the Shepparton Football Club.
I think they need more out of Daniel Willis.
Look, if he plays this week, he's one of those VFL boys, isn't he? So you don't know where he plays, but if he plays, all of a sudden there's potentially a 4 or 6 goal contribution from.
He started the year brilliantly last year, went down the league, then dropped off.
Yeah.
And I still don't reckon he's picked up from there.
His first game.
I played very well first game.
First game, he kicked 6.
4, yeah, but he kicked 4 in the first quarter.
Yeah, but he
Doesn't matter.
still kicked 6, and then delivery dried up for him a bit, I think, after half time. He's someone that they're going to need to watch very carefully there, and I'm sure they'll have some plans around. Ash Holland's always a contributor in the ruck for him. Mitchell Brett, he's had a good start here. Rupert Sangster had a sensational year so far. I know it's only round 3.
No, he's had a good year.
But, he's really working hard. Nick Allen, reliable as ever. Then you got Sean Harrop and Sam Bowmaker, who are pretty consistent performers for Bears. So they've got a sprinkling of experience through that lineup. United, just talent, isn't it? Really, like Luby, the boys from the new recruits in Neves and Healy, sensational footballers. Ryan Butler, Sean Hoy. Manny DiBella's had a great start to the year too as well for United. So, it's a pretty tough game there. And my old mate there, Pig, Daniel, he got a couple of goals there the other week, and he's always dangerous around there. Loves playing on Deacon Reserve.
Yeah, he got his 6.
Yep. So, United have just got a lot of talent, and I think they'd be looking for a fairly convincing win this week.
Well, they weren't lucky against Maroon. They kicked, was it Maroon? I think it was they kicked 1 goal 10 in the first quarter.
Yeah, 1-13 or something. In the
Who's
first
going to win it?
Yeah, United.
Johnny?
United.
Okay.
Yeah, United.
I think we're right across the board with United. Righto, John?
Yeah, Kai, I got Kai in Rochester, and of course Kai didn't play last week, and neither did Rochi, so they're both all coming off fresh. And Elliot Bowen, well, he's kicked 10, so he's been pretty good. Strubourne, I think, probably at this stage needs to do probably a little bit more. He's kicked 5. Cuttress has been. Nick O'Connor's been very good from along with Dylan Williams and Heath Aiken. Daniel Anderson also, as we know, through the midfield is a hard nut, along with Ash Watson, Chris Saunders, and the coach, James Flaherty. They said they rate him like a Mick Gaither, Mario, where they say he doesn't get a lot himself, but his opponent gets nothing.
He gets nothing.
He just shuts them down. So, and Nick Knight, Jacob Perry's come back in from Rushworth. He's been really good from Kai Abram. Well, I watched him against the Bulldogs. I thought they lacked a little bit of leg speed through the midfield. But Billy Durston, he's kicked 6, and Justin Sherman, the coach, I think he'll just get better and better. He starts on a wing, but when I said him on a half-forward flank, he was very good. Foxy, Ryan Emmett, Foxy, his nickname's Foxy.
Yep.
He's been good. Jordan Williams, Sammy Sheldon is probably playing as good as he's played since he's been there at Kai. Nick Colstock is the same. He started the year last year really, really well, then dropped off, but this year he started, and I hope he keeps going. Tommy Sheldon, Sheldon, Liam Nogden, Charles, Hayes, Smith. Sam Smith, he's a young ruckman in the ruck. He's a good kid. He's just got to develop a bit. In a close one, I'm just going to go for Quiet Home under lights. I think they get a little bit of advantage under lights.
I hope the matchup comes about with Morgan and Bowen. I hope that does eventuate.
Oh, it'll
I reckon
eventuate,
that'll be a great contest.
Yeah,
between
either that or
two
Vic,
boys.
or either that or Vic will go to him.
Yeah. But look, I'm going to go for Rochi. I just think their form in the first couple of games is probably a little bit stronger than Kai at the moment. I don't think there'd be much between them, JR, but I'm going to go for Rochi.
I'm a Rochi man myself, and I think it'll be a great game of footy, no doubt about that. Okay, last week I saw two sides, both winners, one super impressive in Uriah. They take on Seymour at Seymour. Now, Seymour showed what they can do in the last quarter last week. It was a terrible game to watch, John, until three-quarter time. It's because of the Anzac Day component, because of the history that exists between these two clubs. It's a very emotive day, particularly at Seymour, because they've got in both cities they recognise the returned soldiers really, really well from all campaigns, not just the first.
3 BC winners, haven't they?
Yeah, well, yep, near enough to it, and they've got a couple up at Manila, and they've got some wonderful people at Seymour as well. But after I saw Uriah on Saturday night, they're going to be particularly hard to beat. I tell you that they probably, in hindsight, they lost Craig Bamford at the start of the year, but Craig has returned and played like a 16-year-old last week. They took a huge risk on a kid called Andrew Bell to name him as captain, I thought, but I've always been a rap for Andrew's ability, and I tell you talk about boys that played well, he is an absolute
So is
gun.
Snowden, he's going well.
Yeah, my word. And look, what do you say of Kupu, mate? His name's John Akupu Jr., and the last thing you want to call him is Junior, because he's a straight liner and he's hard at it.
And Paddy Horsburgh's been another pickup.
Horsburgh was fantastic last week. Probably with Paddy, he could hit a few more targets on occasion. He's happy to pick the ball up and kick it long, but if you got more out of him, where he's hitting targets, he's an effective player, but he'd be more effective again. What can you say about Gillan that hasn't been said already? The key to him in defence is Tarrant, holds them together. The big fella now, Gleeson, he's got bucket hands, Brad, and he's got to not retire on what he did last week.
Just a question, Foxy. Brad Cunningham, I've always been a fan of the way he goes about his football. Hard nut, hard at it.
Absolutely.
Last year, nearly all year in the twos.
Yeah, but
obviously everything's in order now.
He was a new dad.
Yeah.
He's got a huge business and he's into the fitness cape. You'd never ever put a query on it. I'll tell you what's happened to him. He's got the mudguard on top. He looks like Friar Tuck because he's got a bread and butter plate on top. He said, I said, who's that with the nude nut?
Well, I just think it's great that
he's a fantastic
Brad
young
Cunningham,
man.
He's actually playing at the level that he should be.
Yeah,
supporters can watch him.
He's a gun.
Yeah.
He's an absolute gun.
So, well done, Brad.
Cheeky has, and it is too. He's a terrific fella, I can tell you. Then you got Seymour. Now, Bonjetti was pretty quiet until three-quarter time. Meredith's a superstar player, and probably, in fairness to Brett, his disposal on occasions, Johnny doesn't get the penetration.
9-9 shot.
Yeah, sometimes too many.
Yeah, I just reckon with Meredith too, I'd love to see Meredith play on a wing, especially at Seymour on the big grounds. I think he's an outside player.
Very skillful.
Very skillful, and I reckon he'd be an awesome player on the wing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, Sard's going to work the two. Everyone was saying how's Bonjetti and Sard are going to play on the same floor.
They'll do it easy.
I'll tell you, they will do it real easy.
Yeah.
Good players. Hugh Robinson was good for him last week. Braden Grenfell tried to work very, very hard, took a few grabs around the ground. Brent Colbert, I reckon he had the ball 35 times plus last week. Very effective
against Benalla.
I'll tell you what, Paul's gone good since he's gone down back.
He's been good. It's been a surprise.
He looks a little less twist and turn out of his body. He's given him the opportunity to run straight and still got those magic hands. And with the pressure of not kicking for goal, they're getting more out of his kicking. Cox, good player. McCarthy tried hard. Dom Russo popped up every now and then and looked effective on the forward line. They didn't have Scanlon last week. I don't think they've got him this week either. I think they get one of the O'Keefes back.
Yeah.
I don't think Jake Lorraine. I think he's got work commitments that are going to keep him out for quite some time yet, John. So
give Bonjetti 3 or 4 weeks and you're going to see a pretty good player.
Yeah, look, he showed that when the game had to be won last week, and believe me, Seymour were in some sort of trouble at three-quarter time. Bonjetti I think he might have kicked 4 in the last quarter.
Yep.
Okay, for me, and a beauty, I'm going to go what I saw last week, the Magpies.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go the other way. I think Euroa emotionally would have been a huge win for him last week, and I think you always seem to plateau after a really big win, and that was a big win for them. I'm going for Seymour.
I'm going Seymour too.
Good on you, mate. Don't forget, next week, Hay will put it down on the bottom of the screen. You'll be able to see it now. Morph's mailbag that'll come out, and you'll be able to post into us any topic you want to cover whatsoever. Anything at all. If you've got a question about the under 18s for Mario, if you want Mario to bring an under 18 young fellow in here one night, don't be if you want to know about Whitey and his magnificent ferrets, don't be scared to ask.
And if you want to see Mario let his ferret have a run,
But what's the difference between a buck and a doe? Who knows?
About 40 cents.
Okay, well, we hope we enjoyed the show. I hope we enjoyed it. We always enjoy it and bring it to you, but hope you enjoyed tonight's show.
Don't forget the services on Saturday morning.
Correct. It's dawn services.
Yes.
Don't forget, and I always say this, if you go see an old soldier, whether it be man or woman, go up and shake his hand and say, give him a wink and say, well done, mate. Thank you very much. Because without those people's efforts and everything that's taken place, it's Anzac Day, it's Australia and New Zealand's time to celebrate the courage of our ancestors. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.